Hi all, thank you for joining me. We're going to try and make this as much as a Zoom class as possible, which does mean we have the usual disruptions. Oh, such a naughty little kittens. So we'll try and keep them in as much as possible, but at some point you may have to go outside, mightn't you? We've accepted that. Let's try and keep them in for a little bit. And we'll see how we get on. So class today, we're going to be looking at finding space. So do come to start kneeling. Now, sitting on the backs of our heels may not be comfortable for all of us. Feel free to take a pillow or block, whatever you need, pop that underneath your bottom to make that as comfortable as possible. We're going to take our arms around behind us, bring our thumbs into the soles of our feet. Get that lovely, tall, proud posture. Closing the eyes and focusing on the breath. Allow that tummy to move with the breath. Allowing it to rise on the inhale. And belly button back to spine on the exhale. And really engage with that breath, understanding how you feel today. Noticing where the breath might feel corked or a little bit harder. Noticing where the breath feels free and easy. And let's bring one hand onto our tummy, one hand onto our chest, and just feel that breath. Feel that space coming in through the lungs, opening that rib cage out, right down into the lower abdominals, spreading into those fingers. Breathing in space. Take one more lovely big breath here. Good. On your next exhale, bring those hands down by your sides. Bring those thumbs into the soles of the feet or thereabouts. Take a nice deep breath in. Start with lengthening through that chest. As we exhale, we're going to hinge at the hips. Bring that tummy onto the thighs and that head to the floor. Now, if your forehead touches the floor, allow your arms to drop down by your sides and sink into the mat. And take a few good deep breaths there. Lovely. Take one more breath here. Oh, catch yourself. On your next exhale, gently lift that head and come up with a nice straight spine. Take the knees wide and take a hand to each knee. Take a nice deep breath in, rolling those shoulders open. As we exhale, we're going to hinge at the hips, bringing that forehead down to the floor. And when it touches, stretch those arms out in front of you. Good. Now this is our extended child's pose. Stay in that posture, allowing that space in the chest and into each vertebrae. We're lengthening through that spine, so find that space there. Continuing in that breath. Tummy rising on that inhale. Belly button back to spine on the exhale. Good. Take that gaze gently up on the next exhale and rock forward into tabletop. Now we're going to be on our knees a little bit in this one, so feel free to put some extra padding under your knees if that feels good for you. You can pop a little blanket, extra mat, Or if you're happy and you've got a squidgy mat, just feel free to stay as you are. You know what, our knees to be underneath our hips here. You want our hands to be in line with our shoulders as much as possible. We're going to do a couple of cat-cows here. So as we inhale, allow that pelvis to drop down towards the floor, taking that gaze up. And as we exhale, we engage with the pelvis first. So pulling that pelvis up, belly button to spine, curving the background and looking towards those feet. Go with your own breath length. And we inhale, allowing that chest to open. And as we exhale, curving that background. And keeping with that focus on space, as we inhale, allow that chest to really fill with air, finding that space in the front of the body. And as we exhale, we find the space in the back of the body, stretching those shoulder blades wide. We're going to do 3 more rounds of these here. Going with your own breath length, being led by that breath. Good. Now we're not all together going to stop our cat-cow. So on our next inhale, all we're going to do is when we come up and forward, take our hands forward also, just about a handprint ahead. Then we're going to inhale, lift that chest up. Exhale, bring that bottom back to the floor, but we're still curving the spine. So we're still doing our cat-cow-like movements, finding space in the chest, but we're rocking into this now. So allowing that back to curve as we come back. And as we inhale, allowing that chest to open up, pelvis still drops a little towards the floor. And this is our rocking cat. Very good if you have any little lips and crooks that feel a little bit tight, that you just need to work into it a little bit more. Good. Next inhale, take those hands further forward again. Drop that pelvis just a little bit lower. As we exhale back, bringing that forehead down towards the floor. And you'll see that we're starting to get a little bit more like an up dog, coming into child's pose, but with the spine moving with us. Good. One more here. And then on your next inhale, come all the way forward. Allow that pelvis to drop down to the floor, bringing those elbows underneath the shoulders. So spread those fingers nice and wide. We're going to take a nice deep breath in, allow that chest to open, coming into our Sphinx pose. Now we want those elbows to be pulling back like they're pulling back towards the hips. Chest feels nice and open, and those shoulders cascading down the back. We're working into that lower spine area, so just take 3 breaths here. Lovely. On your next exhale, bring yourself down to the mat, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, tuck the toes under. I'm going to push into those hands and back into a full child's pose. Just take 3 or 4 breaths here. Really allowing that spine to lengthen and stretch. Lovely. On your next exhale, take that gaze up, come back into that tabletop position. But take those hands just ever so slightly forward at the shoulders. We're going to come into our first down dog. So on the exhale, push that bottom back and up. So keep your knees bent to start with. Bring that crown of the head towards the floor. Allow that lengthening through the arms, shoulder blades coming down the back, bottom coming out to the sky. Have a couple of cycles here first. So we're easing into those hamstrings rather than diving straight in. Good. Slowing down that cycle. And then when you're ready, find a level of stillness in that down dog, using that exhale to bring those heels closer towards the floor, but keeping that back nice and long. Good. On an inhale, we're going to take that right foot up into the sky. As we exhale, bend at the knee, bring that foot through and between the hands. Taking that left knee down to the floor, straighten that foot out onto the mat. Gently come up through the torso. We want to make sure the knees don't come over the ankle here. Bring those hands into the hips, make sure they're nice and level. And on that exhale, we're going to push into that front hip, but making sure we can still see our toes. Hands down by the sides, nice strong fingers. We're going to inhale, take those arms up. Nice deep breaths here. Allowing the tummy to move with the breath. Good. Now to really find that space in the chest and open up. On your next exhale, bring your arms at shoulder height, fingers nice and wide, coming into our cactus arms. Take a nice deep breath in. If it feels good for you, you can lift that chest up to the sky a little bit. Taking that gaze up, using that exhale to push a little deeper into that front hip. 3 breaths. Chest is nice and open, breathing in that space. Good, lengthening back up. Take your arms behind you, interlace those fingers, pull them away from the body. Inhale, nice tall spine. As we exhale, bringing that tummy onto the thigh, allowing those arms to come away. Really pulling those shoulder blades back together, and we're working into that front leg. Taking 2 more breaths here. Beautiful. On your next exhale, release those hands. Tuck under the toes on that left leg, kick back into your down dog. You might choose to have another little cycle here. Allow those hamstrings and legs to stretch. And then again, take a moment and then find that nice space for you, where you feel like that bum can go right up to the sky, the back is nice and long, and those heels start to lengthen towards the floor. Good. And then we're going to inhale the left leg up, bend at the knee. On the exhale, look forward and bring that foot in between the hands. That's quite a thump there. Take that right knee down to the floor, straighten out that foot onto the mat. We're going to come up through that torso again and start with our hands on our hips. Hips are nice and level. Use that exhale to push into that front hip. Good. Shoulders nice and low. Tailbones gently tucked under. Nice strong fingers. We're going to inhale, take those arms up to the sky. Take some breaths here. Good. Now on your next exhale, you can bring those arms back to cactus arms if this feels good for you. And we can inhale, gently take that gaze up. Breathe that space into the chest. On the exhale, pushing into that front hip. Beautifully. Gently coming back up through the torso, releasing those arms. We're going to interlace those fingers behind us. Interlace your fingers the opposite way to what you do normally. It feels weird, I know, but it's good to keep us balanced with the body. Inhale, pull those arms away. Nice open chest. As we exhale, hinging at the hips again, bring that chest towards the leg. Doesn't matter if it doesn't reach, but just take 3 breaths here. Beautiful. We've got 1 more. And then on an exhale, release those hands down to the floor. Tuck the toes under on that back leg, and we're going to kick back into our down dog again. Have a cycle if that feels good for you. Just allow those legs to stretch out after we've worked them quite hard. Good. And then find some stillness again. Your down dog should start to feel a little bit easier now we've done a few. Good. We're going to take one more breath here. Then on the exhale, we're going to drop our knees down to the floor and we're back into that tabletop position. Take your hands further up the mat. Take your knees as wide as the hips, your hands right to the edge of the mat. We're going to come into our melting heart or our puppy pose here. Take a nice deep breath in. As we exhale, we're going to melt that chest down to the floor, allowing that forehead to touch or the face to touch if that's what feels good for you. And the bottom stays up into the sky. So we're melting that chest, melting those arms down to the ground. I'm going to take a few breaths here. I'll lift my head slightly so you can hear me talk better. And this is really just to allow us to find that space in the chest, to really allow it to open up. Allow the tummy to move with the breath. One more breath here. And on your next exhale, you can take that gaze up, gently rock forward just to take some of that strain off. Walk those hands back, come and sit on the backs of your heels again. Let's just have a good little shake out those arms. You might want to just pull them over. Nothing specific to pull them out. It's just we're going to come into down dog and we're going to stretch them out again. It's quite nice to have a little bit of release before we do that. So coming back into our down dog, this time we're going to step forward from our down dog and we'll come into a forward fold. That first forward fold, we're not going to worry too much about where our back is, just going to enjoy that stretch. And then we'll come into lengthening from there. So when you're ready, gently bring your hands forward. And again, we're just going slightly forward of the shoulders. Tuck the toes under. On that exhale, push that bottom back and up to the sky. Good. If you need to cycle. If you're happy to stay still, stay still. We're just going to take a nice deep breath in here. Good. Now, before we come to our forward fold, we are going to do a little flow here. Just to get the arms working. I know it feels like I tricked you, but it's what I do. It's a terrible state of things. So take a nice deep breath in. On your next inhale, come up onto high heels. Exhale, feed that body forward into a plank. Now with our plank, we don't want any soggy bottoms. We don't want any half down dogs. Try and get yourself in line as much as possible. So we know that the core and the glutes are working. Push away at the floor with those arms, nice strong arms. If this feels too much for anybody, you can drop your knees down and still push the weight into the hands, okay? So there's two options there. On your next exhale, we're going to drop down to the knees, bend at the elbows, keeping tight to the body. Inhale, push into our up face dog. So I've got my arms fully extended. You can have yours bent. If that's just too much, you can come back to your Sphinx as we were doing earlier. But see what feels good for you. And what we're trying to find is that space in the chest again. 3 lovely deep breaths. 1 more. Beautiful. On the exhale, tuck your toes under, kick back up to down dog. Good. Now from here, we're going to walk our feet forward. So walk them forward into a forward fold. Let that head hang. Let those legs be straight or a little bit of bend in the knees. There's no tension there. We're not really looking for perfection here. We're looking for a nice little respite, allowing that flow of blood to go to the head, allowing us time and space to breathe. Take 2 more breaths here. Just allowing that head to hang. Allowing that space to breathe. And when we're ready on an inhale, we're going to bring our hands to our shins, straighten out our back. So we're looking for the bottom to go to one side of the room and the crown of the head to go towards the other. We want those shoulder blades to cascade down the back so we get a nice long spine. And this is our half fold or our city posture. Take 2 more breaths here. finding that length and enjoying that stretch down the back of the legs. Now, on our next exhale, keep some of the space you've created, hinging at the hips. Bring yourself back towards the floor. And that might be that you don't make a huge amount of difference, but do let that head hang. So we're creating some of that length in the spine. You can either put your hands under your toes, you can just hang there, or you can wrap your arms around your legs, whichever feels good for you today. And we're just going to spend 2 more breaths here. Good. And then we're going to take those arms wide and up, standing, inhaling up. Exhale, bring those hands down. Good. And then gently release. I'm going to tilt up the screen a little bit to make sure you can see me properly. I'm actually just going to take a little bit of a drink. I suggest you do the same, particularly if it's hot when you're practicing now as it is when I'm doing this. Good. So we're going to come on and do a few standing postures here. First one I'm going to show you is our pyramid posture. The pyramid looks quite nice, but it can be a little bit mean, so be nice to yourself. It's a very tough one on the hamstrings. If you've got tight hamstrings, you will feel this, but it's also a really great one for gradually starting to release them and stretch them out. I have tight hamstrings myself, so I'm sure a load of you are much more bendier than me in this one. So we're just going to take a good step forward with the right leg. Now, as we're doing this, we're not going as far forward as we would if we were doing a warrior, for example, but it is a good step forward. Your legs want to be as straight as possible without locking in those knees, so just keep that knee a little bit soft. You're going to have options. You want to keep that chest open. You can either bring your hands behind you and grab your elbows, or if it's accessible to you, you can do reverse prayer posture, where those palms come together. So pick whichever one of those suits you today. Have that chest nice and open, and we're going to tuck that tailbone gently under. Good. Nice deep breath in through the chest. As we exhale, we're going to hinge at the hips, bringing that chest towards the leg. Now, again, you might not get there. You might end up with your head on the knee, far bendier than me. But at the moment, this is what works for me. And we're just going to take a few breaths here, allowing that stretch down the leg. Keeping that chest open, that back long, that crown of the head pointing out to the other side of the room. Good, one more breath. Coming up on an exhale. Bring those feet together, release those arms if you need a little bit of a break. Shake them out. Have a rock on your feet, and then we'll come on to do the other side. So stepping forward with that left leg. Your feet are facing as forward as much as possible. Nice, strong, long legs. Bringing those hands back again. Either in prayer or grabbing hold of those elbows. Chest is nice and open. Take a nice deep breath here. As we exhale, hinging at the hips, bring that chest towards the knee, crown of the head, staying nice and long, shoulders cascading down the back. Good, take one more breath. Exhale, gently coming up. Release those hands, release those legs, have a good shake. Drink water if you need to. So we're going to come on to do one of my favorite postures, and we're going to link in a wide-legged forward fold from here as well. Now, if it feels too much for you when you're going towards the floor on this, we can use a block. So I'm going to demonstrate for you, and then I'll show you how you can use a block in it as well. So when we're coming to our standing postures, we're going to take a nice big step forward, bringing that back foot up on the ball of the foot, so the heel is lifted. And from here, we're going to come to an open fold. So you can either come like so, bringing that open, looking up towards the thumb, back leg is engaged, arm is nice and open, trying to create some nice long lines. If that feels too much for you, or you find it hard to get your back length, Feel free to pop a block there and go from that. And actually you can grip the block as well if balance feels a little bit tricky for you today. So there's two options there, doing with or without. Try without. If you feel you need a block, you need a little bit more support, you can always add that in at a time. Are you ready? Take a nice little rock on your feet. Actually, I should go the other way so you can see me both sides. Good. So when you're ready, we're going to take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, step forward with the right leg. Good. Back foot, we have the heel lifted, so we're up on the ball of the foot. Front knee, we're making sure the knee doesn't come over the ankle, so I can see my toes at all times. We have a nice straight chest. On the exhale, hinging down towards the floor, place that left hand into the mat, palm down if you can, and then we're going to inhale, lift that arm up to the sky. So we have our right arm up into the sky, our right knee is our bent knee in front of us, and we're taking that gaze gently up, allowing that chest to open. Breathe 3 beautiful deep breaths into the sky here. Good. Exhale, bring it down. We're going to try a little maneuver now. So walk those hands all the way around behind you, swiveling onto the other side. If that doesn't work, just get yourself to the other foot as best as you can. But a little semicircle walk tends to work. Bring that right hand into the floor this time, left hand up to the sky, look towards the sun. 3 breaths here. Chest is nice and open, legs are working. Exhale, bring that down. Walk those hands all the way back to the center. Now I appreciate it means you're going to get a picture of my bottom. Hi guys, apologies. Hopefully some of your bottoms are facing the camera as well, so you won't see this. They're coming into our forward fold. Keep that back nice and long. Good. So a bit like with our other ones here, we're going to hinge from the hips, keeping that back nice and long, crown of the head pointing towards the other side of the room. Our legs are straight, but our knees are not locked. We're getting that beautiful stretch into the hips. So just take 3 breaths. If your hands don't reach floor, grab hold of your elbows. Beautiful. On the exhale, pull that core in, pull your heels in gently, and gently come up. Good. Bend at the knees as you come up. We're going to come into our star posture, really open up for the entire body. So bring your feet in a little bit if you need to. We want the toes to go out wide, heels to be in. Really simply inhale, allow that chest to open, shoulders coming away from the ears, taking the gaze up. Sigh the breath out if you want to. One more. Good. Arms come down, heel to toe those feet together. Have a good little shake out. Jesus, are hot. I don't know why I decided to record this today of all days. Okay, so balance. When we think about balance and how we open up in our balance, a warrior 3, where we bring the arms forward, creating that wonderful T shape, is something that we can all have a go at. And sometimes it can be a little bit over challenging. We'll do a version of our warrior 3, which I call flying tiger. And that's where we just open the arms up wide a little bit. That's going to allow us a little bit more balance. So for example, I'm just going to pop this to one side. When we do our warrior 3, what we want to keep is our T shape. So we bring our legs up like so, arms come out, foot is engaged. We're trying to get that back nice and long, hips stay nice and level throughout. Okay, our flying tiger is very similar, but we take our arms out wide. That allows us a little bit more space, and I don't want us to overthink this. So we're all just going to come into it together. So have a little rock on your feet. Now I've got my right foot forward because that's going to be the one that I'm going to come onto first. Lift those toes up, place them down one by one. Good. Inhale, find that length for the body, and we're going to take our arms down by our sides. We'll take them out wide as we come forward. So we're going to inhale, chest nice and open. Exhale, hinge at the hips, gently take that left leg back and up. And as you do, take those arms out wide. Good. Try and keep those hips level, even if you lose a little bit of space doing that. Good, one more breath. And then exhale, bring it down. Good. Coming on to do the other side, have a good little rock again. Lift those toes up, place them down. Lovely. Inhale, open through the chest. Tailbones tucked under and cores engaged to give us that sturdiness. Arms down by the side, ready to go out as we lift that leg up. Bringing the weight into the left foot. We're going to inhale, chest open. Exhale, take those arms wide, taking that leg up behind us. Crown of the head coming towards the other side of the room, trying to create a lovely T shape as much as possible. Keep those hips level, even if you lose a bit of distance. Lovely. On your next exhale, gently bring it down. Good. Shake it out. I'm not going to give you some unusual way of coming down to the floor this time. Just come down to the mat, wherever feels good for you, and we're going to come straight into a child's pose, finding that space around the vertebrae and allowing us to really lengthen, so enjoy it. Bring that forehead to the floor and reaching those fingers forward. Good, and we're going to take 3 breaths here. Really allowing that chest to open, really allowing that spine to lengthen. Beautiful, and then gently roll up. So we're going to come into our pigeon pose. If you're watching this, you've probably done pigeon with me before already, but just to demonstrate, in case you haven't, we lift the leg up, we bend at the knee, and we bring that forward. So we bring that right knee by the wrist, and we have that right foot behind the left. Key things in pigeon, we want to make sure our hips don't topple off to one side or the other, keeping them nice and straight. That's why we come up into pyramid to start with, get a nice long spine. We check behind us, make sure that leg is nice and long. And then from the exhale, we come down to elbows, or you might come to full sleeping pigeon. We're all coming into it together. It's just so you know where we're going. So you know where we're coming, we're going to start into our down dog. So bring your knees underneath your hips. Hands just slightly forward to the shoulders to be able to give you that little bit of leverage if you need it. Tuck those toes under. On the exhale, let's put that bottom back and up to our down dog. Good. Now, we're going to start with our right leg, and we're not going to stay in our down dog too long here. So inhale that right leg up. Bend at the knee. Exhale, bring that knee forward. Good. So let's start our little checklist. Come up onto fingertips first. Back leg. Lengthen it out onto the front of the mat. Make sure it's nice and straight. If it's not, just tweak it into position. Hips are nice level, and we can use our hands to get a nice long spine. Wiggle this foot around so you feel comfortable. Bring it closer to the pelvis will give you less of a stretch. Taking it forward will give you more of a stretch. Nice deep breath in. And you can hold it here, but if you want to take it down further on the exhale, you can come down to elbows, keeping that spine as long as possible. Or if it feels good for you, you can even exhale down to full sleeping pigeon. We're going to hold it here for a few breaths. Really allow that exhale to help you release and soften into the hip. have a little scan of your body. Notice where you're holding. Breathe into that area and help it release. Good, we're going to take one more breath here. On the exhale, lift that head gently, look up, walk those hands back. Good. Go tuck the toes under on that back leg, kick back to down dog. Oh, now this does not have to be a stationary down dog. This can be a dancing down dog. So wiggle those hips, dance through those legs, make some movement. Oh, always the perfect remedy to stillness. Good. And then find stillness. You're ready to come and do the other side. We're going to lift that left foot into the air. Exhale, bend at the knee and bring it forward. Good. Do our little checklist. Fingers come into pyramids, a nice long spine. Back leg, lengthen it out. Check it's nicely in line. Inhale through the chest so it's nice and open. Hips stay level. Exhale, coming down only if it feels good. Otherwise, stay where you are. And again, come to what feels right for you. Elbows or forearms. Well, everybody's sides will feel slightly different. So go with what feels right for you on this side. It doesn't matter if you were slightly lower or higher on the other side. Continue breathing into that hip. Finding that space through the chest. Finding that space into the abdominals as the tummy moves with the breath. And then finally finding that space in the hip. Good. Now on your next exhale, take that gaze gently up. Walk those hands back. Tuck the toes under on that right leg. We're going to kick back to our dancing dog. Have a wiggle of those hips, a wiggle of those knees. Just so nice. Oh, and then find some level of stillness. Just feel magical in the legs. At this point, you're probably like, I'm turning off. She's going to carry on talking like this. I get that. Nice deep breath. And then drop down to your knees. Good. You're pleased to hear we've got to come and lie on our backs now. So coming to lie down on your back, we're going to do our spine twist. So bring your soles, your feet into the floor. I'm not sighing today. I'm feeling very sighy today. I think it must be the heat. Bring your soles of the feet down to the floor. Take those arms out shoulder height. I did one again. Love it. Palms are facing up. Good. Now, if you have been in class with me before or you've done Zoom with me before, you'll know that this is quite a common posture that we're going to do together. So we're going to start by bringing that right ankle onto the left knee. We want to make a nice big open shape, pushing that knee away. Now, throughout the whole process, the most important thing here is to make sure that your shoulders stay glued into the floor. So take a nice deep breath in. As we exhale, we're going to take the legs over to the left. And as the left toes touch the floor, we can take that left hand onto the right knee and bring it closer to the ground. See me? Yeah. Now, throughout this whole process, we want to keep our shoulders glued into the ground. So if your shoulder starts to lift at any point, just ease off. And we're going to hold it here for quite a few breaths. To really work with that breath. Use that exhale to really help us soften and release. And you might find with each exhale, maybe you can go a millimeter or two deeper. Melting the shoulders down into the floor. Allowing that tummy to move freely with the breath. And this is a great time to start lengthening that exhale. Making that exhale longer, deeper, smoother. You might start to get a few pins and needles. That's all good stuff. Squeezing those lymph nodes, allowing the drainage system of the body to do its work. Good. Now, if you want to, you can engage with the right set of fingers. On an inhale, start to creep them up along the floor like a ticking clock going towards 12. Only going as far as you can go without that shoulder blade lifting. If it starts to lift at any stage, just hold it there and ease back. Just going to hold it here for 2 beautiful breaths. Make them nice and long, embracing that longer exhale. Good. On your next exhale, bring that arm back to shoulder height. We're going to release that knee slowly on an even longer exhale. Bring it back to the center. Nice big breath in the middle. Bring that foot down. Just take a breath before we come on to do the other side, just to realign. I also think it's wonderful as well. As soon as you get back to the center, all the pins and needles go. Good. Bring that left ankle onto the right knee, letting that left knee push away so we get a nice open shape here. Take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, we're going to drop those feet over to the right this time. Good. And keep those shoulder blades glued into the floor. And if it feels good for you, you can take that right hand onto the left knee and bring it down towards the ground. Now go with your own breath. Go with your own body. Listen to your body. We're going to use that exhale to help us soften, to help us release, and to help us melt. Closing your eyes, it feels good. Just doing a scan of that body. Noticing anywhere you might be holding on. And using that exhale to just release it. Now, if it feels good for you, to start to engage this left set of fingers and spread them wide. On the inhale, taking that arm up along the floor like a ticking clock, going towards 12. And only going as far as you can go without that shoulder blade lifting. If it starts to lift, we just ease off. Nice deep breaths here. Allowing the body to drain and work. Bring that arm back on an exhale. Holding on the inhale, but releasing that knee. And then on a long exhale, coming back to the center. Good, and then exhale, release. Good. So we're going to let the soles of the feet come together and the knees fall out wide. Let's start by placing our hands onto the lower abdominals. So you can just take a little gaze up and check your hips look nice and level. If they don't, just adjust that accordingly. And then place your head down onto the mat. Now I'm bringing my hands into Yoni Mudra, but you can bring them into whatever feels good for you. For Yoni Mudra, we bring the thumbs together and the pointing finger together, and the others just spread out wide. We can place that on our sacral area, or on our lower abdominals. Feel that breath rising and falling. That tummy pushing away at the fingers as we inhale. Belly button back to spine on the exhale. Good. Take one more breath here. Now you can stay here, but if you want to do a final chest opener with me, we're going to come into fish pose. Fish pose is one that I really love, but I know that not everybody does. So give it a go. Don't overstretch. It can feel a little bit weird because we are engaging in that neck area, that throat chakra. So if that doesn't feel right for you, feel free to not do it, or just remember that you control how far you go. So I'm going to demonstrate the fish pose for you, and you can join in with me as I go. And I can show you a variation of a block instead if it doesn't feel right for you. So take your hands underneath your bottoms, and then we're going to keep those legs in the same. You know, fish come in all different shapes. So we're going to be a wide-legged tailed fish today. Now my elbows and arms are underneath my back, and my hands are underneath my bottom. What I'm going to do now is take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, I'm going to push into those elbows. So I'm allowing that chest to open up and that head drops back. So my head is dropping back towards the floor. No weight is going onto that head. And I'm allowing that chest to open up. I'm going to take 3 breaths here. Good. Exhale. Gently lift that head first, then lower yourself down. And come back into the cobblers, focusing on that breath. But if you tried that and that wasn't right for you, whilst the others are having a nice breathe back into that cobbler's position, I'm going to show you a version with a block. So with the block, you're going to place that block just underneath your back, and I'm putting mine at the bottom of my bra strap to start with, and just allow myself to gently roll over the block. This feels like there's a lot less strain because the block's doing the work for you and opening that chest up. My head is just gently coming onto the floor. That feels too extreme as well. Feel free to pop a blanket or something underneath the head so it's not quite as deep a stretch through that neck area. And the block is just bottom of the bra strap. Girls who know what I mean, guys, just think lower back, kind of for the rib cage, about 3 ribs up. Exhale, gently coming out. Good. Everyone back in that cobbler's position. Allowing that breath to flow. And then finally stretch those legs out in front of you. Let your feet fall mat width apart. Allow those arms to go down by the sides, palms facing up. And let's just have a look at those shoulders, making sure they're not up by the ears. And start to focus on that cool air coming in, a slightly warmer air going out. We have our eyes closed in our Shavasana, actively stretching out that forehead. Checking we have a little bit of a gap in between the teeth, so there's no tension in the jaw. The cool air comes in, and the warm air goes out through the nostrils. We're going to use that exhale to really help us soften, to really help us release, to really help us relax. And we're allowing that feeling of space on the inhale to travel in and down through the body. That exhale taking away any clutter, anything we're holding. Using that inhale to just breathe the space through the body. We're going to use that exhale to help us soften through the feet, the toes, the ankles. Allowing the legs and the knees to soften. Switching off those glutes, allowing the hips to melt down towards the floor. The tummy moving freely with the breath. And as we exhale, allowing it to fall right back down towards the spine. The spine melting into the floor, vertebrae by vertebrae. As the rib cage moves openly on that inhale, as we exhale, we allow it to drop right back down. Allowing the shoulders to soften into the ground. Allowing the arms to relax, the fingers to unfurl. Allowing the head to sink into the ground, supported by the earth around it. And each exhale allows us to soften, to release, to sink. We're going to bring a bit of movement back in with those fingers and toes. Have a wiggle. And then take your left ear to the mat. Very, very slowly take that right ear to the mat, coming all the way over to the other side. Coming back to the center. Bring those knees into the chest nice and slowly. We're just going to put some weight onto that lumbar spine for one last time today. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, bring the forehead up to meet the knees, releasing those shoulders from the ears. Release the head back down on the exhale and gently rock side to side. And in your own time and in your own way, gently come up to sitting. Just going to finish with a nice deep breath. So we're going to inhale, take those arms up. And as we exhale, we bring them down. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the class, and I hope to see you in person at some point in the near future. Bye guys, look after yourselves.